One of the challenges I often hear corporates mention about is, we don't understand Gen Z. They're lost in their own world.
What do you think is a workable, productive, sustainable work format?
Difficult.
But what's your perspective on the current situation of the corporate world? Because it's chaos.
Sometimes the experiment, would lead me to trouble. So I think something happened when I was just a month short of being 20 years of age. At that age, I got an opportunity to go and attend Vipassana meditation, and it changed my life forever. So before I went for the meditation, I had this tremendous amount of anger inside me, tremendous amount of hurt. The moment I learnt what Vipassana is, it's really helped me, but the thought still remained with me for another 2 days. Sixth day somewhere, I totally forgot about that thought. That anger and that hurt, and everything that I held for 9.5 years before I went for that meditation, all those things just simply vanished. And then on the final day, when they take you through the Mangal Maitri meditation, that's where the forgiveness part happens. And at the end of it, I was so light that I had never known that kind of lightness or peace in my life for those 9.5 years.
Branch at the house, guys.
And I'm thinking, thankfully the red light is still counting. Pagal. Purposive acts of generosity and love. And now my daughter had also turned the corner and she says, पागल हो गए हो क्या? ऐसा काम करो कि लंबा कर सको. ऐसे काम मत करवाओ कि कोई लंबा काम कर ही ना सके.
So, hi Shri, welcome to our studio. How are you feeling today?
Nice, and thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure, and I can't wait to listen to your story, which I've been so curious about last 2 days. So please take us back right to your childhood, what were the milestones, what brought you here?
If I were to put it in simple terms, there are 2 C's that brought me here. One is a C called curiosity, and the other C is called creativity.
Wow.
Right. So I was born curious, I was born creative, and managed to retain it all through my years so far. And that's in a nutshell.
Amazing. But what was that first spark of creativity that you realized?
It may sound silly.
It should, right?
So, I used to stay home alone once I come back from school because my brother was too young, so he'd be put in creche. My parents couldn't put both of us in creche, and Hindi में कहते हैं ना खाली दिमाग शैतान का घर. And we didn't fortunately have TV at home in the early 80s when I was growing up. So my mind needed engagement, and my mind had a fertile imagination and fertile creativity. So मैं करूँ तो क्या करूँ? So I said, okay, can I make a tent, on the bed and sit inside and imagine a world of my own? So, I picked up these heavy 5 kilo tin ke dabbas of rice and, atta ka flour, somehow carried it to the bed, put it up there, and, put a chadar on top of it, put the chadi with which my father used to beat me.
I'm just trying to visualize that.
Right. And mind you, I'm just 6 years old now. And I put all that stuff, and I'm sitting inside, and I've created my own world. I'm having my own conversations, imaginary and all that. So that's the first memory that comes to my mind about creativity.
When you realize you have this bent towards, okay. But how would you define your personality, from your childhood when you realize and become more self-aware?
So I would still say the same. I'm an ex-little boy, who's managed to retain the curiosity, creativity. And that's a spirit that's always sailed through my life, always helped me, even as I grew up. Wherever I went, these 2 things really, really helped me to learn about people, learn from people, and then also collaborate with them and co-create things.
So any specific traits that you remember, in your school days or with your parents, which has been reflected in your personality today?
Same thing. I was very curious. Therefore, I was always very experimental. And sometimes the experiment, would lead me to trouble.
Yeah.
With teachers and with parents, etc. Because they didn't know how to handle my questions. The questions I was coming from a space of curiosity, experimentation, etc.
Sort of a rebel?
Not a rebel. I mean, yeah, they would have perceived me as an inconvenient rebel. I was always bugging them with questions. Why is it this way? How about we do it that way? So I was not essentially a conformist in that sense.
Yeah.
So that did create a lot of challenges for them and for me in return. But I would say I still managed to retain that inherent spirit that I think all children, or most children, are born with.
Yeah.
And that has helped me do things, get things in life which I'm very, very grateful for.
Carve your own
Yeah,
path,
yeah,
basically. I'm sure you don't regret it.
No, absolutely not. Given a chance, I'll do it all over again.
But any anecdote, that you remember, which you would want to share with us? Any story which has been very profound and has an impact on you?
There are many. So I think what will help me is if you can give me some kind of a context or a theme around which, and then I can...
Just throughout your journey, usually some things leave an impression on you, which is instrumental again in your present. So something of that sorts.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. So I think something happened when I was just a month short of being 20 years of age. There's an interesting backstory to it, but I'll come to what happened. At that age, I got an opportunity to go and attend Vipassana meditation, and it changed my life forever.
I'm sure.
Forever. Early on, I was able to learn and experience the power of forgiveness, forgiving others, seeking their forgiveness, and that really helped me. And that continues to still leave a deep mark on me.
But what exactly happened? Like, how many days was it? What was the transformation you felt? The before and after?
So before I went for the meditation, I had this tremendous amount of anger inside me, tremendous amount of hurt, and things were not easy. So when I went in there with a lot of anger to say, okay, I'll do this and I'll come back and tell you, hey, you guys are wasting your life. And look at me, I'm going to do meditation at such a young age and all that. And this remained for the first 4 days till they teach you Vipassana. And the moment I learned what Vipassana is, it's really helped me, but the thoughts still remain with me for another 2 days. 6th day somewhere I totally forgot about that thought. That anger and that hurt and everything that I held for 9.5 years before I went for that meditation. Somehow all those things just simply vanished. And then on the final day, when they take you through the Mangal Maitri meditation, that's where the forgiveness part happens. And as that 2-hour prayer meditation started, is where one by one, all the people who I held responsible for my plight, for all my trauma and everything, without me even having to think about them, one by one they all, कहते हैं ना, चित्रपटल पे आते हैं, एक-एक करके आते हैं. And I found myself, forgiving them. And not just that, I found myself seeking their forgiveness, because I thought, in that moment there was a realization that these were people who didn't have everything in life. They were also trying to do the best of what they could with the resources they had access to at that point of time. And they were hurt people. Later on, as my research into forgiveness took me further, I came across a very interesting line which says, hurt people hurt. And I realized that they would have, all those people, not everyone in my life, but all those people who I held responsible, they themselves must have been so hurting that they didn't know what else to do or what else could come out.
Yeah.
And when that realization happened, a lot of empathy started coming up, and I automatically found myself seeking their forgiveness in my mind. And as it happened, there was a catharsis that happened, and I just broke down crying for the next 4 hours. Wow. And at the end of it, I was so light that I had never known that kind of lightness or peace in my life for those 9.5 years. Beautiful. And that set me free. That really set me free, and that in a way influenced the rest of the course of my life.
So you were 20 by then?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
A couple of things happened. So one, I thought that, if that meditation could do so much for a person like me, who in a way was also relatively privileged, I was beginning to imagine what it could do for people who were far more, in a difficult situation than mine, who had experienced far more greater trauma than mine. And somewhere, that gave me a purpose, if you could like. It gave me a sense of meaning or something to do, that gives you a sense of happiness, a sense of happiness, a sense of meaning. And coincidentally, it sounds funny, but a few months after this, I was in the process of getting my LLB admissions done. And one day I was coming back home from the university, and there in the bus, the song played, which I was hearing for the first time, and it was like the perfect song which gave me the purpose of my life.
Wow.
And these
Bring
two,
it on.
yeah, so these two things come together, and it was amazing. I mean, it was like the penny drop moment for me, where I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So it's a very popular song. A lot of people have that as their personal anthem. Some people have that even as their ringtone. Some have it as a collar tune. So it's from the 1957 Raj Kapoor movie Anadi. किसी की मुस्कुराहटों पे हो निसार,
Wow.
किसी का दर्द मिल सके तो ले उधार.
Lovely.
And it even today when I remember, I distinctly remember that afternoon, the space I was in Delhi when in that bus I heard that song, and even today it amazingly inspires me. And LLB happened, and a few months later we get to know that one of our professors, he was going to lead a few of us volunteers to Tihar jail in Delhi. Because
Was it scary?
No, I was excited.
Adventurous.
And I'll tell you why I was excited. Of course, for a lot of other people, it's like, oh, you're going to see criminals, you're going to see murderers and all of them.
Which you've only seen in movies.
Which you've only seen movies. And in fact, my first story I ever wrote, my first article I ever wrote was about the pre and post of my visit to Tihar. So what was I going to expect to see there and what I actually saw. But the reason I was excited was something else. Because when Vipassana meditation ended at the center in Delhi, they had also organized an exhibition there, where they had shown pictures of prisoners meditating and doing Vipassana and the change that had come on them. And
so you had that correlation.
Yes. So I was like, मेरे में अगर इतना फर्क आ सकता है तो prisoners में और कितना आया होगा, वाकई में आया होगा कि नहीं. So when they said कि यहाँ तिहार में चल रहा है, I knew that तिहार में ये होता है, Vipassana होता है. So I was excited for that. So while many of the other students went around asking, अच्छा तुमने क्या crime किया है, तुम यहाँ कितने time से हो, I'm like asking all the people I could find.
Are you meditating?
Did you do Vipassana? What was your experience like? And which jail? So Tihar has many jails there. So I said, कौन से jail में होता है? And I was talking to the then chief law officer, Mr. Sunil Gupta, and he said, हाँ वो बहुत अच्छी चीज़ है, मैंने भी करी हुई है. So that was the excitement for which I was keen to go in there.
Wow.
And then of course then a lot of other interesting things happened in my life. But
sure.
I think this was a major turning point in my life, I should say.
Okay, so what brought you to corporate training? Like you've done law and then I imagine you practiced it for a few days. But what was that turning point to get into corporates?
I think I'll answer the question, but to make sense of the answer, I need to share this interesting line from John Lennon. So John Lennon has written some beautiful poems, including Imagine.
Oh, Imagine is my personal favorite. In fact, that is my personal anthem, you can say. Yeah.
And another poem he wrote was called Oh Beautiful Boy.
Okay.
And I got to hear this poem in an amazing book, in an amazing movie of mine, favorite movie of mine. It's a movie called Mr. Holland's Opus. I think I would have seen this movie sometime in '98, and where the central character, played by Richard Dreyfuss, sings this song to his son who can't hear, and he sings it with her voice and also in sign language, and it's a very touching, very inspiring, very moving scene. And towards the end of the poem, there was this line which sounded interesting to me, but I didn't know that line is going to come back to my life many times. So the line says, "Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans." So I had certain interesting plans, and those plans kind of kept pivoting, kept changing, and sometimes life happened to me. So I didn't plan to come into corporate training. My training career didn't start from the corporate sector. It started from prisons.
Okay. The jails.
The jails, right. And the work I was doing there. And then
So you didn't practice law at all?
Very briefly. Very, very briefly. I will not call it experience enough to say that I was a practicing lawyer at some point of time. But
I think it was only to go to the jail that you did law. In the hindsight.
No. Law happened because my father wanted me to be a lawyer.
Okay. The checklist.
Because he thought I argued a lot.
Okay.
And I was keen to go into gene splicing, genetical engineering, biomedical technology and all that stuff.
Wow.
I come from a hardcore science background.
How diverse is that?
Right. So then my father one day brings the form and says, "ये LLB कर." I said, "Are you out of your mind? मेरे सारे science के teachers मजाक उड़ाएंगे." right? I'm keen on masters in genetical engineering and all.
Yeah.
He said, no, listen, you're very good at arguing and I want to put it to good use.
So that you stop arguing with me.
So he said, listen, 20 साल का गधा पाल रहा हूँ, right? Start arguing in a court of law than with me. Make some money and get off.
Make it productive.
Yeah, and get off my back. Now, I didn't have an answer for that. And I said, okay, let me deal with him. I'll give the entrance. I'm sure I'll flunk it because I'm going to clear the genetical engineering
other
thing.
one, yeah.
Life had some other plans. I cleared the law one and I didn't clear the other one. So I said, okay, no worries, I'll prepare for it. हफ्ते में एक ही दिन तो क्लास करने जाना होगा law का, बाकी time I'll prepare. But the very first day I went there, the professor who I spoke about, and what they showed as to what law really can do, instead of just, defending criminals and all that stuff, really, I forgot about genetical engineering and I thought about social engineering.
Yeah, the social impact.
Right. Yeah. So all that happened, but I came into corporate training in 2008. I just come back from England about a year back, and I was trying to set up my own business. Failed big time because I didn't have a mentor back then who would help you understand the different mindset you need to go into entrepreneurship.
Sure.
Right. So all that happened, and one day I was talking to my Reiki teacher, and he said, "Shri, there are some people who would like to meet you. Come over." So I went to this place, and he introduced me to the founders of a training company in Bangalore.
How old were you at this time?
I was 31.
Okay.
No, 32 rather.
32.
2008. So they said, we want you to come on board. I said, listen, I don't have a corporate training experience per se. They said, no, we have a formula for that. We'll teach you through the 3I method. You come on board because we've tested you and we've seen what we wanted to see in you. And we think you'll do a great job. And we will train and support you all through and prepare you well. That's how I came into corporate training.
That was your first sort of informal.
Before that, the only corporate experience, so to speak, I had was for a year in London from 2006 to 7 when I was with a financial services company there. But otherwise, I didn't have any corporate training background. It was social work.
Professionally.
It was legal, judicial academy work, and many other things put together.
So what was your first training topic? Do you remember that?
It was on negotiation skills at IBM in Noida.
Did you pick the topic?
No. So that was on the calendar. Of course, I had 1 month of onboarding in Bangalore, and then I was trained. I sat through other trainers' programs, made notes, did demo presentations, was given feedback, was prepared well. So then when I came back, this was the first on the calendar, negotiation skills.
How did you feel after that?
Oh, it felt nice.
Was it like, okay, this is it? I mean, did you feel like you belong there?
So I'll answer it this way. I felt this is also it.
Apart from everything
else. And it was fun. I mean, learning is always fun.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that helped me in that job was my first boss teaching me and telling me that, Shri, if you go into a training room, don't go with the mindset that you're going to teach there. They'll have kind of experience which you will never have, which I'll never have. So, go with the mindset of also learning from them.
Wow,
as
that's
much
very
as,
new. Actually.
Yes, as much as you're there to share, go also with the mindset to see what can you learn from there. And he said, I remember his words distinctly. He said, Shri, this is one industry that pays you to learn.
Yeah.
So it was great fun. It was great learning.
Fresh perspective to training. And who was your mentor at that time?
So there are many mentors, but if you're speaking about the person...
This phase.
Yeah, so this phase, of course, my Reiki teacher was there because he gave me a lot of encouragement. He was one of the greatest supports I've had in my life. In all my moments of, downturn in my life, I always turn to him. I message him every day. And so his name is Jairaj. He now lives in Faridabad. He used to live in Lajpat Nagar earlier. And the second person I'm talking about, his name is Mr. I'm forgetting his name because all these years we've only been calling by his pet name Jitendra Vaswani.
Oh, okay.
And his wife Padmaja. Okay. So they were the founders of the training company there.
Oh,
and Jitu really helped me a lot. Padmaja helped me a lot. And to kind of make that transitions effortless. So did many of my other colleagues there, Kaustav, Ramesh, Maya, Aditya. I'm eternally grateful to all of them. Duriya.
Yeah, once you put out an intention, I think people just get attracted. So, after the first session, you professionally then kind of trained yourself, refined it further.
A year later.
Early, okay.
A year later. Because I had started training from the year 2000. So there are a lot of things I picked up by learning and doing and, taking
Just
feedback.
practicing.
But a year later, the training company, they organized a train the trainer program for us trainers internally. So we had somebody come from outside and they took us through a structured training design program and all. That was also quite helpful. So
And
anyway,
when
for
did
me,
Gallups happen?
Gallup happened at 2 levels. I think you just, I should say, you just activated me. Each time I think of Gallup or strengths,
Because I think that was your next milestone.
Yes.
After this.
So Gallup happened at the first level in 2010. So I was doing a session at Ernst & Young, for the Ernst & Young knowledge team, and one of the participants there, Kaushik Chakrabarti, he came to me and said, Kaushik Roy, he came to me and said, Shri, when I'm listening to the way you talk, I think you'll resonate with this philosophy called Strengths Philosophy. And he gifted me the book called Strengths-Based Leadership.
By?
From Gallup.
Gallup.
From Gallup. This was a book that had come out in 2007. And in fact, Neha, there's a question in that book which again was path-breaking and changed the world forever, changed my experiences forever. But staying on that Gallup, he told me about that book. I started reading about it. A month later, I'm in Mumbai visiting my brother-in-law. I see another book called StrengthsFinder 2.0 in his library. My brother-in-law is a voracious leader. Again, talking about the same thing. And I'm like, this is a signal.
Yeah.
Right? I
coming to you.
borrowed the book, StrengthsFinder, kept reading it. But I formally did my Clifton Strengths Assessment in 2015.
Oh, 5 years
5 years
later.
So life was happening, no? So then in 2016, I was very clear where I wanted to go. So I knew that my specialization is going to be in strength psychology. So I generated the funds, did my certification, and I became a Gallup certified strengths coach.
So where does this happen? Is it an online course?
Today it's
Somebody
online.
who's looking to do it.
Yeah, so today the course is online, but in our times before COVID, this was a combination of 4.5 days of in-person class, and then you have to prepare for an exam, score 85% marks in that, coach 5 people, their feedback is taken. I mean, all the process is still there, but now it's online. Yeah.
And at that time it was not in India.
No, it was in India.
India.
In India. So primarily the centers of training were in Bangalore and Bombay and Delhi. So I did it in Delhi.
Okay. And how long is the total timeline of the course?
From the day you attend your first training classroom, from that day you're given 6 months.
Okay. With the practical.
With the practical, the exam and everything. But there are people I've known, I don't remember the person's name, but there was one person who finished the end-to-end thing in 17 days.
17 days.
From attending the training program, 4.5 days, preparing and giving the exam, clearing it, and also coaching those 5 people and their feedback, etc. being taken, I think 17 days. I don't remember the name of the person, but this was a legend of a story in our time.
A benchmark
Yeah.
set, my God.
Yeah. But I took 5.5 months.
Yeah, but it's good to be slow and sustainable
Yes.
also. So what changed after Gallups in your method?
Expectations from people became reasonable. If I have to put it in one line. The reason I say that, Neha, is because, unconsciously all of us are trying to see ourselves in other people.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
I'm like this, everyone else also should be like this or can be like this.
A reflection.
A reflection. But strength psychology very clearly tells us that no two human beings are made exactly the same. Each one of us is uniquely strong, right? And why don't we focus on what's, like Dr. Donald Clifton, the founder of this field of psychology, after a brilliant experiment he had done, he asked a very interesting question. So I'll give you the original question, then I will share with you my modification of that question and one later version of this question. So he said, what happens when we focus on what's right with people?
The genius
Right.
in a person.
Rather than focusing on what's wrong with people.
Wow.
And I'll add a bit of a modification to that, to say that what happens when you focus on what's right with people, what's dominant as a strength in people, rather than focusing on what's a lesser talent in them. Right? And few weeks back, I got to read a very interesting news from Gallup on LinkedIn. They've taken this approach to prisons in US.
Wow.
As a result, and as a result, the recidivism, or which means the repeat offense, and many of those things, those numbers have come down. Right? And there they had this very interesting question that come up. What happens when you focus on what's strong in a person rather than focusing on what's wrong in a person?
What a statement.
And it's interesting because as I said this, I also happen to remember a quote from Rumi.
Rumi again.
Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is an open field. I'll meet you there. So when we don't understand this, we feel we are right because of what's natural for us. And we feel the other person is wrong because they don't do or they're not able to do what we do effortlessly. And that's where a lot of unreasonable expectations start getting built up.
Yeah.
So for me, the lifelong journey started off beginning to see the uniqueness in each person, the strength in each person, and accordingly rationalize my expectations from and about them.
So profound this is. So I guess that would completely flip the way you look at people and the world.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
lens.
Absolutely.
So 2015 was another turning point for
Yes,
you.
yes.
Wow. Can you talk a little more about Gallup's and his philosophy in terms of, where it started and what kind of impact it has today in the corporate environment? What's happening with it?
I would love to. Because it's also to do with being experimental, to do with being curious. And that's why I resonated so much with the experiment they did that started it all. So somewhere in the 1950s, they did a wonderful experiment in the state of Nebraska in US. Now, there's a skill called speed reading. It's a very useful skill in certain contexts. Now, they decided to teach that skill to school kids there. Now, what a mind with a scientific temper will do first is to say that, okay, before we do the training, let's do a benchmark assessment. What is a pre-training score of these kids when it comes to their natural ability to read fast?
Okay.
Then let's take them through the training program and then do a post-assessment.
Right.
Now that's how when I was in BSc, all our experiments, be it in physics, chemistry, etc., we would always start with a control group or setting the zero and then measuring the difference. So they administered the test to these kids and the scores came into two buckets. One group of kids averaged about 90 words per minute.
Okay.
Another group of kids did about 350 words per minute. Both were taken through the same training program. And post the training, their reading speed was measured again. Now the children who were doing 90 words per minute, they improved to 150 words per minute. So clearly,
almost double.
Right? So clearly the training is impactful.
Yeah.
Now I want you to try and guess and tell me what happened to the kids who were doing 350 without training also. बगैर किसी ट्रेनिंग के भी 350 कर रहे हैं.
Did it go down?
That's what many of us are tempted to think.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it can go down. Right?
Yeah.
And there's a brilliant
Because
story.
you're superimposing
Yes.
on something which is naturally
Natural,
there.
right.
Yeah.
There's a brilliant story of Hans Zimmer, the famous music composer who gave for Batman,
Legend,
for Pirates of the Caribbean and all.
Interstellar.
Yes. So he was a prodigy. So he was enrolled in a musical class, and there his performance started going down. And he says in an interview, he said, the music teacher did not allow the music that was inside of me to come out. He was trying to force the music outside to come inside of me. And so I couldn't be myself, I couldn't be expressive.
Never
So he said, I
was.
kind of ran away from there. Now, in certain cases, the training, when it is not done the right way, it can impact negatively. Interestingly, Gallup did a survey in 2008 in Singapore to find out what is the reason people in corporates are sent for trainings.
But tell me the score of.
I'll come to it. Because to understand the score,
I'm curious.
the result of the survey in Singapore is important to understand. Okay. So the survey was to find out what are the reasons why corporate people send their people to attend training programs. They found that 77% of the people are sent to a training program to fix their weakness, and only 23% are sent to a training program to develop their strengths.
Oh.
Okay?
That's where the key is.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why when a lot of the corporate training programs happen, the reason they don't succeed is you don't focus on what's called as individualization. You give the same training program, generalization. It's a generalized training program without factoring in how each person learns uniquely. And therefore, what training program will be useful for who, based on what their natural talents are and what is a lesser talent for them.
Correct.
Right? So that's why there is a lot of issue with ROI in training programs and corporates. Now, coming back to what happened for those people with 350, the baseline is 350. Post-training, it skyrockets to 2,900 words per minute. And that's what inspired Dr. Clifton to ask this question. What will happen when we focus on what's right with people rather than focusing on what's wrong with people?
So that was his first experiment before he...
And then he said, okay, let's study excellence. So he and his team of scientists, they started looking at why is it that in the same role, some people excel naturally and others struggle, all other factors being equal. And they went on to interview and collect data for up to 2 million people. They did massive number crunching of all that stuff, and based on all that analysis is where, in the late 80s, early 90s, they were able to come out with a tool called StrengthsFinder.
Okay, that was the first tool.
That was the first one. Marcus Buckingham and Dr. Donald Clifton came out with a series of books around that.
Okay.
And a few months before Dr. Clifton passed away in 2003 with cancer, the American Psychological Association, in recognition of the contribution he had made, gave him the title Father of Strength Psychology.
Wow.
And then his grandson, Tom Rath, comes out with this book called StrengthsFinder 2.0.
Oh, he continued the legacy.
And I think while we are on strengths, I think I must also share one thing here. Before Dr. Clifton passed away, Tom and his grandfather, Dr. Clifton, they combined together to come out with another path-breaking piece of work called How Full Is Your Bucket?
Oh, that's a
separate book.
Okay.
How full is your bucket? And you know, this is mind-boggling because it eventually helped me later on to say that, you know, on days when I don't feel like getting up or doing what needs to be done, how do I inspire myself? How do I energize myself from a very practical point of view to do that? And today, there are versions of that book called How Full Is Your Bucket for Kids and this and that. It's a must. It must be included in the curriculum in schools, because you will see then how much kids become energized, engaged, creative, productive, and so many more things.
Like, what does it talk about? Can you just give us like a synopsis?
Yeah. So they use the concept of a bucket, right? And they say that, you know, you use a bucket to dip into something and you bring it up and see how full is your bucket. So when you're going out and interacting with somebody, is your bucket full to contribute to someone else? Or are you so drained out that you're going to drain the bucket from someone else? In fact, I wrote an article about this on LinkedIn in January this year. I was at Coevolve Park and I was having my breakfast there and something happened there. A person called Jayesh was also having his breakfast. He did something very small. And for me, it was a great act of being a bucket filler rather than being a bucket drainer. And I told him as much. Then I came back to my room and then I wrote an article on this called How Full Is Your Bucket? And I titled this Jayesh Bhai Jhordar. Of course, partly borrowing the title from that Ranveer Singh movie. But unlike that Jayesh Bhai, this Jayesh Bhai was really...
it's so relatable also.
Was great.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that must be fun.
It was.
So, again, you know, coming to Gallup's, today what all do they offer, and if somebody wants to train themselves in this corporate environment, maybe entering into this industry, what's your recommendation?
So there are a lot of things they do. So at one level they have the employee engagement survey called Q12, which is just 12 questions that will help you measure how engaged are your employees.
Okay. Very important.
Very important. 12 simple questions. And they look simple, but the assessment and the insights they throw up based on customizations and etc. is very deep. So that's at one level.
Q12.
Q12. Then of course they have the Clifton Strengths Assessment. Whether you do it for individuals, teams, organizations, etc. They have the coaching certification program. So interestingly, there are a lot of organizations today, I just remembered, which have gone the entire path of Q12 as well as getting their entire team running into lakhs and lakhs of employees, assessed for their strengths, then training programs done internally to convert those talents into strengths and train managers to work like a coach with a team member rather than as a horrible boss.
Wow.
So that the manager now focuses on the strengths of the team member and not just the weakness of the team member.
Okay, this is really interesting. So, take me through the steps in the sense you said there is an individual assessment, right? So, if I were to do it for a team, what are the steps? Like everybody does it individually and then it's consolidated?
Yes.
Okay.
And it has always got to start from the person at the top.
Yeah, the founder.
Yeah, because Gallup has also did an interesting research on how do you build a great culture.
Okay.
A strengths-based culture, rather. So we talk about culture at a general level for sure.
Yeah.
But they have done a lot of work around how do you also build a strengths-based culture. Right?
Yeah.
And for that, there is a 5-stage process, and it says it always has to start from the top. From the CEO. The CEO and the CXO team needs to have a buy-in. They need to do it. Then you scale down, others do it, etc. And then, of course, the other 4 stages.
So let's say everybody has done the assessment. What's next?
Then you need to take the service of a coach. Whether it's somebody who's deputed from Gallup directly in India or abroad, or whether you hire the services of a certified coach yourself.
Right.
Or depending on the number of people in your organization, how many coaches do you hire. They help you make sense of your individual report, the team strengths grid, individual coaching, team coaching, and then depending on the size of the organization, what Gallup also recommends and which I completely endorse is, you need to get some of your internal managers certified as a strengths coach.
Okay.
So that they can kind of, take this deep and further and wide within the organization.
Got
So
it.
that it becomes part of the entire culture there.
So what I understand is based on the assessment, you of course get the strengths of the team and then you basically make the organization structure, right? Based on the roles and responsibilities
Part
that
of it.
would suit their strengths.
Part of it. Not completely. Because what happens is, rightly, Gallup cautions us against looking at a person's strength report to only see what roles they'll be great at. It has scope and impact far beyond a role a person may be most naturally suited to doing.
Okay.
Right? So take a role fitment kar lijiye aap, but don't restrict it there. And that's where the insights
You build
come
on
out.
it.
Yeah, you build on it, and that's where the coaching insights, the coaching conversations, really help leaders to say, okay, what more can I do to create the environment, just like you've created this environment, that brings out the best in my team members without me having to push them or chase them.
So it also guides me on the environment, everything, the culture,
Absolutely.
like you said.
Absolutely.
So there's a separate course for culture building,
Yes.
or it's okay.
I mean, of course, it's part of the same process, but there are elements of how do you build a strengths-based culture. So those are the things we get trained and certified on, and then we go and develop it, work on it. And if the scale of the organization is large, then Gallup itself brings its own team on board. And then they always say, don't remain dependent on us forever. Get your internal managers, some of them get trained and certified as coaches who can then take it down further.
Take it ahead. So you said there are 5 stages. Can you take us through those 5?
I don't remember it offhand.
Okay.
But I remember the first and the last one. So first is
Sure.
start from the CEO. The second is finally they embed it in the culture. Right. And there are these conversations, conversation formats, frameworks, structures they give you. So for example, if you're a leader, if you're a manager, then how do you have a conversation with somebody who's new to the role, or when a new goal is set? So there are 5 coaching conversations which managers get trained on, or leaders get trained on having with their, people one-on-one or even collectively. So bunch of documents, almost 24, 25 documents that you can, frameworks that you can work on and use.
Wow.
So it's
it
very
also
deep, very deep.
includes the hiring process, guide to getting the right resources.
No, Gallup cautions us against using Clifton Strengths for hiring or promotion.
Okay.
For that, they have a separate tool.
Okay, there is a tool.
There is a separate tool for that.
What is that called?
It's called Talio.
Okay. So there's a
But
tool for
I'm-
hiring,
yeah.
there's a tool for culture, there's
Yes.
a tool for assessment.
Yes.
Any other tools that they offer?
They do. In 2007, and going back to Kaushik, and the book he had gifted me, which is called Strengths-Based Leadership. So in 2007, Gallup wanted to understand leadership from a very different angle. And for that purpose, they created a survey. And the interesting thing about the survey was it had just 2 questions. And the second question there was why. And when they analyzed the reason people gave in response to the first answer, they found that there are 4 reasons why people follow leaders. And by leaders, I mean authentic leaders. Right?
Okay.
Not political leaders, not religious leaders, but people who are genuinely authentic leaders. And when they found what those 4 reasons are, recently, so we coaches get to, and we must also go through continuous learning and upgradation process.
course,
So
yeah.
there is this internal learning, calendar, etc. for
Yeah,
us.
the constant feed.
Yes. So I was going through that, and I was so positively surprised to see that they've now built an entire assessment on those 4 core needs, and seeing how those 4 core needs vary, their scores vary on different demographic factors, age, industry sector and all that, which again gives, a feedback to organizations, to leaders, to say that out of these 4 needs, which are already being met, which are not yet met, how do you help, look at the individual Clifton Strengths report of your team members, of your own leaders, to help see how do you improve your scores on those elements, etc. So they're continuously going deep and wide with their, continuous research.
So would you share the 4 pillars?
Yes. But to share the 4 pillars, it'll make sense. Because, without that context, those are just few mere words that we've heard enough and more, and therefore get trivialized. They'll make sense once you understand what was the question.
Yes. Let's first start with that.
Yeah. So the question they asked
Yeah.
more than 10,000 respondents was, who's your favorite non-political, non-religious leader who's had the most positive influence on you? Each of these words are very carefully chosen.
Yeah.
Speaking just about the positive part of the influence, because otherwise it can be manipulation also. Influence can be negative also.
Yeah.
And we've seen enough and more examples of dictators and politicians and other people,
Of course.
who create cults and everything. So then people responded to that question. They took somebody's name or the other. And then
What
the
was
second-
your answer?
There are many. There are
One
many.
that you remember.
Yeah. I know. I'll not do justice if I don't mention 2.
Sure.
So one was my late mentor, Sri Radhakant Saxena sir. He was a former IG of prisons in Rajasthan. We shared the same birthday. We met on our birthday.
What?
And he was one of the tallest role models, tallest benchmarks in my life when it came to grace and dignity. How do you behave with grace and dignity even when the whole world is trying to pull you down? He was one. And the second, I would say, is a person called Narayanan Krishnan, who's the founder of this organization called Akshaya Trust in Madurai. An amazing story, and there are many more. Third
I'm
is
sure. Yeah.
Udaybhai Jadhav, an auto rickshaw driver in Ahmedabad. Right. They all meet that criteria.
Wow.
So when they analyzed the reason why, they found that the reasons come into 4 main pillars. In no particular order.
As in why I follow this leader.
Follow this leader.
Okay.
People follow those leaders who understand that every person, every follower, every team member has these 4 core needs. Whether they state it expressly or not,
Okay.
they have it. And the leaders then try to meet these 4 core needs in as an individualized manner as possible with every one of the team members. So they don't follow the same method with every team member.
Everyone,
So
yeah.
everyone will have the same need of trust. But what does trust mean for a particular person is very different from what it means for another person.
So it needs a very customized,
Individualized,
personalized
individualized.
approach.
So we help people to understand what does trust mean for team member A, B, C and D. And how do you use your strengths as a leader to meet that need in an individualized manner as possible, right? So the 4 core needs in no particular order: trust, hope, stability and compassion. When people have conversations in organizations or with their bosses, have you ever heard somebody come and say, boss, meet my need for stability, meet my need for compassion, meet my need for trust, meet my need for hope?
I don't think they have the voice to do that.
Right. One is the voice element. The second is they don't have the training to convey their challenges in the language of needs. We've never been taught the language of needs, the syntax of needs.
Especially in India. I was watching something and somebody said that he migrated from India to US to study. And the first time in a classroom, he was so amazed to see that the students are allowed to ask questions, which never happened in Indian schools. I mean, now things are changing, but at that time, so you're right. I mean, we're not conditioned to ask questions.
But behind every challenge or conflict between a team member and a manager or a leader, it is a tragic expression of one of these 4 needs not being met. So these are umbrellas.
Yeah.
Within these, of course, there will be sub-elements or clusters that come into these main four categories.
Okay, so they have these 4 pillars, and so that's their latest tool, I believe.
And they've done a lot of research further on that to see, and they correlate it with organizational engagement scores to see what could be the reasons, what's going up and down, how do you work it around it, and how different demographic factors will influence these 4 elements. So what does trust mean for a Gen Z as different for somebody who's 50 years old?
Yeah.
What does hope mean for a Gen Z or a person who's starting their career now at the age of 20 or 21?
Yeah, every stage it changes.
It changes, and that's why the need for individualization.
So, would you say that Gallup's, as an institute has all the tools for a corporate or somebody who's starting off, let's say a startup brand, to equip themselves to then thrive and, build the right foundation to go ahead in their journey of growth?
See, I come from a very hardcore strengths background, and I've learned and benefited a lot from everything that Gallup provides. So my answer would be yes, but I would also not exclude the insights or wisdom that could come from other tools also that are available in the world.
Like?
There are many. I'm not certified in all of them, but I can talk about one that I'm further certified. It's on Enneagram. Enneagram is another personality assessment tool. There are 9 types, and then there are personalities, then, 2 wings for each one of them.
Like a psychometric.
Yes, it's like a psychometric, and then 3 layers within each one of them. That's amazing. That's an amazing, and I've tried to combine my strengths report, the top 10, with my personality type with an Enneagram and see what's happening with. So, all these are complementary tools. I will never for a moment say, this is better than others, or, the others are trash. No. And that's where the curiosity and the creativity part comes in again. So rather than being judgmental to say that this is best to the exclusion of all else, I'll put 2 things together and compare and see where are they similar, where are they unique, and where are they complementary. So
maybe you're saying that the Gallup's tool are the must-haves,
you can
and
say
rest
that.
Could be the good-to-haves.
Yes, you can say that. I mean, I can only say that much because I'm not certified in every other tool.
Yeah.
Other than Enneagram, right? So it'll not be fair on me.
Yeah, but in terms of your research and the impact that you've seen, it's one of the best.
Yes,
right
I'll say
now.
that. I'll say that.
Awesome. So again, coming to a startup or to somebody who is, let's say, on a mid-level and wants to completely sort of replan, reorganize the entire corporate structure or reinvent the wheel, as they say. What would you recommend stepwise, just, if we go through the framework?
So first, I would say, if they've decided to reorient, reinvent, restructure, I think the first step is for people to ask, where are we going? So the whole vision, mission, value,
Has
review
to be
exercise.
very clear.
That has to be very clear.
The North Star.
The North Star, right? How do you want to be guided in your journey there? The values part. And once there is a clarity, crystal clear clarity on that, then you look at all the other things, be it strengths or whatever. And even before you go to the strengths part, when you're talking about the values, the reorientation of clarity in the values, one inherent thing that you cannot afford to ignore is to see how do we define the culture on the basis of which we want to now build this organization or rebuild it. Unless we've done that exercise, rest of it all will be meaningless.
Yeah.
You'll kind of keep coming back to the
Yeah.
drawing board again and again and wasting time and going all over the place.
So you first set the foundation and then it's a journey. What's an average timeline, where you can complete one cycle of this entire development?
Difficult to say. It varies.
Any range? Just for context, for the
See,
audience. who's
it can be, let's say, as little as a week, depending on the size of the organization, the clarity and maturity the team has, and let's say also the help they get from outside of a facilitator or somebody who's expert at it. It could be even maybe a couple of weeks or months or even years, depending on the size and complexity of the organization,
Okay.
as well as the clarity of the leader there. I'll give a simple example. In 2008-7, Starbucks was going down like this after years of
Yeah.
explosive growth.
Yeah.
So Howard Schultz, the founder, chairman of Starbucks, he had to come back and take over the role as a CEO again. And he had to work for the next 1 year to put a lot of things in place to reorient, redirect, and turn the things around before the results started showing. Of course, that's also because the scale is massive.
Right.
In the early 2000s, when Sam Palmisano became the CEO of IBM, he did an interesting exercise called Values Jam, where on the intranet, he opened it up for everyone to say, what do you think is working well in IBM? What about the values that we have? What do you think, are they being implemented well? Is it lip service? And the intranet just exploded. And his core team wanted to shut it down the very next day because there's so much of negative sounding stuff that was coming in. But Sam had the courage to stay the course and say, no, this is the voice we've ignored because of which IBM is kind of going down.
But
And
people were honest about
yes, they were honest about
venting.
it. Yeah.
It was not anonymous. It was
They were. So it's on the intranet. It's not an
of
anonymous
course,
one.
intranet, but usually people have this apprehension towards their bosses
Yes,
or hierarchies
yes,
where they are very hesitant.
Yes.
So that's why I was wondering.
Yeah,
But it's good that
it's good. I mean, you're referring to building a culture of psychological safety first.
Yeah,
Right?
correct.
It took time for Sam to convey that message. So despite the advice from a senior team to shut the whole exercise down within 24 hours, he said, no, this is important. We want to listen to the voices. And then they went into a complete revalue assessment exercise where they came out with the new 3 set of core values for IBM.
Oh, the one.
Yeah. And then around that is where they said, okay, now let us train for these 3 core values. And
Which year was this?
This was, I think, early 2000. I have an article, I'll share that with you. But I think 2002 or 2003, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around that time.
And there has been like a massive growth of IBM.
Yes,
after that.
happened after that for quite some time, I think. But what I hear now is it's kind of going through another churn. I don't have the exact details, but I'm hearing that some churn is taking place after Sam moved on and after the next CEO also moved on after him. Some churn is happening there. I don't have the exact facts of it.
Wow, I'm sure you have many such stories. But okay.
That helps, and that's why I stay curious.
Yeah, stay hungry, stay foolish.
Yeah.
All right. So next thing I think we should talk about is what needs to change in the corporate environment today. With your experience of 26 years, you must have seen the entire spectrum from worst to the best. But what's your perspective on the current situation of the corporate world? Because it's chaos.
Not just chaos, it's also unhealthy.
Big time.
And it's affecting people, their lives, their health, their relationships. And if I were to use a term that corporates are interested in hearing, their productivity and their balance sheet.
Yeah.
I think if I were to look at what needs to change at a very basic level, is to go back to those 4 core needs that Gallup discovered. Can we build an environment and culture where trust is high, people find stability with you, in you, to be there with you for long, they have hope to stay with you for long, and they want to stay with you because they experience you to be a compassionate organization. And one of the sub-elements of compassion would be psychological safety. And one of the sub-elements of any one of them is that as a trade-off for me coming to work here, will I have to compromise on my work-life balance? Will I have to compromise on my health and my integrity at the body, mind, soul level?
Yeah. And it should not feel like a trade-off.
But that's what is happening.
Yeah.
That's what is happening currently in many places. And some of the startups are responsible for this as much as the legacy organizations also. You'll see the same culture in companies across the spectrum.
Yeah, I think the startup term itself brings that baggage of, very unhealthy hours of work, and it's become like a fad or a trend for people, which I sit and wonder, as a founder myself. I'm like, is that even required? I mean, things can be done. Probably.
I was sharing something with Parul before the start of the conversation. Let me rephrase that in our context. I think it will help if startups or legacy organizations understand something that's very common sense. कि ऐसा काम करो कि लंबा कर सको. ऐसे काम मत करवाओ कि कोई लंबा काम कर ही ना सके.
Yeah.
या कोई लंबा काम करना ही ना चाहे.
Sustainable. Yeah.
Absolutely.
True. So I mean, also there's so much talk on, hours of work. There was this controversy recently about 70 hours a week.
90 hours also.
90 hours, my God. So what's your view on this? Like, how would you define work-life balance in terms of practical implementation, number of work hours, and how does a person or an organization make it most productive so that, we don't have to deal with this unhealthy work culture?
So there's no straight answer for that, because it will depend on a number of factors. What's the nature of work? So in a hospital context, you can't say that, okay, we'll run the hospital only during the daytime. Yeah,
so let's just stick to corporate.
So I'm saying today, corporates are also taking over hospitals.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I was using in that sense.
Sure.
So, it depends on the nature of work you're trying to do. So, for example, during COVID times, certain companies had to run 24/7. Those who were producing certain pharma and other things, etc. So there are a number of parameters we need to figure out, and that's where again individualization or customization comes in, to be of such importance. So I have a mentor here in Pune. Her name is Mrs. Kusum Gandhi Vig, and she has this favorite line. She says, "Specific is terrific," and there's a corollary to it. To generalize is to trivialize. So what happens is when you're looking at a formula, we're trying to find something that is general enough that will work everywhere.
Yeah, it's an easy way to go.
Yeah, but the problem is, for someone from a science background, we'll find it easy to understand that when we studied science, you're taught formulas. A formula has 2 elements, constants and variables.
Yeah.
So unless we factored in all the variables on a case-by-case basis, we cannot say, okay, this is a straitjacket formula that will work everywhere.
True.
But the interesting thing is, while you try and figure it out, what is it that we are doing in the environment within the corporate stuff, where at least the inefficiencies are not going up, so that there are no further punctures and holes that are being put into a person's productivity. Right?
Yeah. So if we were to talk of a practical formula, since you mentioned and you gave that example, let's say 5 days a week, like what do you think is a workable, productive, sustainable work format?
Difficult.
I mean,
Difficult because there are so many parents that would come.
Let's take IT sector for now, because like you said, specific is terrific.
Okay.
So let's be
You got me.
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say in an IT environment, what's the ideal format?
Difficult to say. You tell me the role in the IT company, and then I can give you a formula. For example, every company has an IT division, right? And they're also responsible for keeping the servers up and running, the software updates, firewalls, and things like that. So some of the people there will have roles that will not be strictly fitting into a morning slot or a 9 to 5.
Yeah, there are exceptions.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So वो उसको समझने के बाद, then there are some other elements that we can consider. For example, whatever be the duration of time you're working, right? During those hours, are you creating an environment which encourages people to take enough and more water breaks? Are you creating an environment that encourages people to get off from their seats and walk around or stretch every 20 minutes? So that your lymph system works properly? So that you don't develop edema or water retention and things like that? Are we encouraging our people to take frequent, breathing breaks? Are we doing something that will help people to practice mindfulness? Are we doing something enough to help people develop a culture of gratitude? Are we doing, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is, are we doing enough that will trigger the release of oxytocin and endorphins in our people enough that will help them reboost their immune systems?
Simple rituals. That's all it takes.
So whether somebody is working from 9 in the night to 4 in the morning or whatever else, and even when we are doing that, are we trying to find out what is a person's individual body type? What is a person's bioclock like? What is a person's diet, which may or may not contribute to, the person's health and therefore the productivity, the role they're doing it. So if we factor all that in, and very importantly, because you mentioned IT, many years back, I'll not take the name of this company, many years back, I had a certain engagement with a certain organization, and this is representative of most of the organizations today.
Sure.
Given my own experience with health all my life, and given curiosity, I was keen to test something.
Yeah.
My intuition told me that vitamin D levels and vitamin B12 will be low in most of the people who are working in organizations that doesn't have any sunlight or where people do not get adequate exposure to sunlight.
Basically the air-conditioned spaces,
Right.
which is pretty much...
And enclosed.
Yeah.
Right. And I did a test to run and do the complete blood reports of some of the core team members there. And my doubt was proven right. B12's abysmally low. And if
That's
B12
so
is
logical.
abysmally low, one of the things is it triggers depression. And somebody who doesn't even know why is it's happening, you're expecting them to work with full productivity. D3s are low. There was one particular case where a person's testosterones were abysmally low. And the person was sluggish all the time, was not able to work, couldn't concentrate, was feeling fatigued all the time. And in this particular person's case, testosterone, B12, D3, cholesterol, the LDL, they were all crazy off charts.
Okay, so environment is one, then you spoke on daily rituals, simple methods. What else can be incorporated, you think?
I think there's no limit.
What are
to
the
it.
gaps?
No, there are no limits. But I think once we get these basics right, then, the other doors open and they would make sense. They would make sense then.
I agree. Okay, so a segue to this would be, what are the must-have values, you think a corporate should have or can have, which are, important and fundamental to the growth?
So I think, let me answer it this way. We looked at those 4 pillars:
Yeah,
trust, hope, stability, and compassion.
yeah.
People will automatically gravitate towards any environment where these 4 needs are met. They will stay there for also long there. Accordingly, Whether we find all the values immediately here and now or not, but it's an invitation for any organization, any founder or any leader or even a manager within a team to say that if I were to create an environment where trust, hope, stability and compassion are at a high level, then what would be the guiding values? Which value would guide me or inspire me to build an environment of compassion with and for each other? I'll give an interesting example.
Yeah.
So 2.5 years ago, I was doing a session in Colombo. This is for the Great Place to Work Institute in Colombo. They'd called me over there. And this is like an open workshop. So where there are people from different organizations who are coming in attending, and around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so if I'm addressing the gathering like this, so at about 11 o'clock from me, there was this person who was sitting there silently throughout. But something shifted in her, and she said, "Shri, I'd like to share something." I said, "Yeah, please do." She said, "Shri, you're coming from India. You would understand that our country has gone through a lot of trouble in the last many years, economically, politically, and you would have seen those lines for, petrol, cooking gas, and everything." I said, "Yeah, I'm aware of it." And she said, I'm a DGM HR, but I also work as a CHRO of Domino's Pizza in Sri Lanka. And one day I came back home and I was talking to my husband and my daughter in our kitchen table area. And I was just talking aloud about where is our country going. A lot of people have also started migrating outward. And also, I was talking to some of the people there, and they said that, Sri, while those long lines are gone, but it will take us another 10 years before our economy finally stabilizes. So there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of uncertainty that is going on. Okay. So she said, I was talking loud about all these things to my husband, and the more I talked, the more I was becoming melancholic and sad and, hopeless and all that stuff. Doom syndrome. She said all this was going on, and all of a sudden there was a knock on the door. I went to open the door and I was surprised to see my entire HR team standing there. Okay. Now, she didn't say this, but if I was there, my first question is, no, don't tell me you've come to resign en masse.
Mass resign.
Take it, don't tell me that. But she said, she said, my entire HR team is there. And I'm like, what happened? And they said, ma'am, get ready. We've come to take you and the family out for a movie and a dinner. And she said, before I could even make sense of it, they kind of just came into my house, got my child ready, got all of us ready, and they took us out to a movie and a dinner. And as she was saying this, her name is Shaila Aravindan. She now works as GMHR of another company called Richardson Holdings there. As she started saying this, she started choking and crying in the session. Now you tell me, which of those 4 values of Shaila as an individual were met by her team? Compassion.
Compassion, yeah.
And when she sees a team do like that, she'd have more hope.
Yeah, true.
Her trust in her team members go up. And together they can do things that will bring in some degree of stability somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
But all of this would not have happened had Shaila not done something before for her team, which inspired her team to give her a return gift. So I will leave it open here for people to say what can be those core values that will increase these factors. But I will say one thing for sure: the core value is around respect, creating a culture of mutual respect. And one of the ways it happens is, can we actively develop a culture of becoming and getting curious about each other to see what is strong about this person, what's unique about this person, what can I learn from this person.
So what I'm getting here is the 4 pillars that you mentioned, and I think a lot of sub-values would stem out of it.
Yes.
And that's how you build your foundation.
Yes.
Which is the right start.
Yes.
And of course the way ahead, and then you continue to do that.